Welcome back.
Welcome back.
You are tuned in to the Seeds of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind podcast. The revolution is live. My name is Aisha.
I am Dr. Asantewa.
And I am Princess Medaya.
And
I thought I was waiting for y'all. 'Cause I
we
was
are
about to
all
be like,
we are all smiles. Can't get over ourselves because we have such an
'Cause
honor.
we're happy to be back together again.
Yes, we are. Hey,
Yeah.
Princess
Hey, y'all.
Medaya, we
I
missed
did
you.
miss y'all the last
Sister.
episode.
You
I
did?
had to be on the land, handling some business.
Okay, is all well on the land?
All is well, I did a little slaughtering of a lamb,
A little slaughtering. All right.
A little
It was
slaughtering.
fun. It was my first time doing it by
I was going
myself.
to ask if that was your first time.
It was my first time doing it by myself. I was trained by the same sister who trained me to be a shepherdess.
Mm-hmm.
She trained me for the last 2 years of slaughtering the lamb, how to kind of like butcher him properly so you're not bruising the meat.
Mm-hmm.
And so this year I did it by myself, and then I oiled him with olive oil, garlic, all like fresh herbs, thyme,
wow.
basil.
And juices and berries?
Yes. And honestly, everybody was like, that's the best lamb I've ever had.
Wow.
It's fresh
How
lamb.
long does the process take?
Literally from the slaughter to skinning him to butcher him, probably about 2.5 hours because, well, I didn't slaughter him and skin him. My husband did. But then I let him soak in salt water basically, because we don't use vinegar during that time. And then I came back maybe an hour later, and he was tender. He was about 4 months, actually.
Oh.
And the lamb was, I'm telling you, the lamb. No, but the lamb
was
was
just a
so,
baby.
the lamb was so, he was so humble. Like it's like he knew this was his job for that moment to be, part of the memorialization of Passover.
Slaughtered
Yeah, but
and marinated it.
Silence of the lamb.
have you? Well, y'all have been there when.
Okay, so tell us
He didn't
this-
cry.
Tell us
Oh,
the
wow.
He didn't try to run.
spiritual significance of this.
Okay, so me practicing and knowing myself and accepting myself as a Hebrew Israelite, once a year we do the memorialization of Passover, which is commanded for us to do in the Old Testament by the Most High. So the day of Passover, the day when Passover comes in, that morning you get your lamb. First you set your lamb apart for 10 days from everybody, from the other lambs. And then after about maybe 3 days, you don't necessarily feed him too much. You let him graze a little bit and a lot of water so that when you slaughter him, they're not full of, or can vomit up or anything. And so that morning you wake up early. We got up about 7. Got the lamb. We talked to him. Like I'm a shepherdess. So, and then one of the brothers who was there, Roach, he's a chief. He was holding him, and the lamb was really nice and kissed him and everything. Like he was really. It was like the lamb was just willingly there.
And you're still.
Right.
Well, I don't get
Butter
attached
him
to.
enough.
I don't get attached to the animals
Okay,
like that.
I
Let's
would-
kiss
I-
on him,
I don't.
talk to him, sing
But
to
no, I
him.
just talked to him and told him everything was good, and said a couple. Then we prayed, and then he slaughtered him. And most animals know, but it was like he just was ready. Most animals will try to bolt or something or start the whining, and he didn't do any of it. And and he was just
Y'all played
really-
Biggie's Ready to Die.
No, we didn't do that. Now. We didn't bring no Biggie up in there. No hip hop. It was a very
I was like, his mind was right
spiritual
somehow.
moment. So basically, Passover is when the Israelites were told were allowed to leave from Egypt when Pharaoh was their master, and when the Creator allowed the Red Sea to be parted, they crossed over, and that was part of Passover. He told them to leave in haste. But everybody had to have a lamb and unleavened bread. And so, when you left in haste, your bread didn't rise. So you left and you took what you had. So now we memorialize it by doing the sacrifice or the slaughtering, not truly a sacrifice because we're not in the land. But we slaughter the lamb, and then we do unleavened bread, and we do a bitter herb to recognize the bitterness of that time.
Okay.
And then the lamb represents, because during that time a lamb was slaughtered and blood was put on the Israelites' doors, and the angel of death knew not to go to any of
Passover.
those doors. The Passover us
Right.
is where that song came from. And then the unleavened bread, of course, I already explained. So we do that. And then you have to eat the entire lamb that evening, like throughout that night, like by morning. And then by morning, everything is burned of that lamb from.
So it's a community feast.
Yeah.
I thought you ate the whole thing.
Oh, no, I didn't eat that whole lamb.
Okay.
It's a lot of
No,
lamb.
and you buy a lamb appropriately. You know, so we had a small one because
Right.
we
Yeah,
knew
a
it's
baby.
not going to be a bunch of us.
The 4 months.
Because it has to be up to a year. Right. So it was 4 months and it wasn't
okay,
that
so it has
it
to
wasn't
be up
that
to a year.
big.
Okay.
Yeah. And a male without blemishes. So almost
All
a
right.
perfect. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Yes,
lesson.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it, but I feel bad.
Right.
The silence of the
good.
lamb.
It was good.
I'll do one for y'all because my lamb is my sheep is pregnant. So
Okay. Well, no, thank
I don't
you.
want to. I don't want to see the
appreciate
slaughter.
you don't have to see it.
I don't
want to
see it.
the lamb.
Well, you know I
Oh,
love
no, I
lamb.
don't- yeah.
I love lamb.
Well, I'm plant based, so I'll eat that. I'll eat that. Yeah, I'll take your word for it, though. I'll take your word for it that it's nice and yummy.
Yeah, it was nice and it was tasty. It was grilled, so it was tasty. It was nice. And my husband, you know, he's strict vegan, strict, and he only does a taste of the lamb because you know we're commanded to do it. He said, "Now this is the best lamb I ever had." I said, "Oh, you want more?" He was like, "I'm tempted, but I'm not gonna do it." So
Well, they
that's a
say
good
as
thing.
long as the animal is vegan, it's okay.
Oh yeah, that's what they say. Of course he was vegan.
Our brother says that all the time. I was gonna say our older brother, but your younger brother,
Yes.
he jokes about that all the time.
Yes.
He's like, no, the fish was vegan. You
Right.
So it's okay.
That sounds like something actually Baba Ahmed used to say.
Oh,
Like,
oh,
yeah, oh,
yeah,
Like,
for
you know,
sure.
I've spoken to the creator. He told me that the Sabbath was going to be on Wednesday, so you can come to the party Saturday.
Right.
I'll be like, it don't work like that, Mama. It don't work like that.
Crazy.
I wish.
So, you know, we are in the month of May,
Yes.
Yeah.
and
it is.
it is Mother's Day month.
Yes.
It is.
Honoring our mothers.
Yes, so
Yes.
we're celebrating
Celebrating.
revolutionary mamas.
Yes.
all month.
Yep.
So that means celebrating ourselves
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Yep.
Our mama, Iya Fulani, Suni
Yes.
Ali.
All of our revolutionary community mamas.
Yes.
Our
And I don't know if we're gonna
aunties.
start naming names because
Yeah,
we'll
'cause
just
so
be
we
gone.
gotta-
it'll
that's
be-
a whole book.
This is a show. That's a whole show.
It
We're not
is.
going to name names, but we are going to specifically talk about two revolutionary mamas today that, along with our mama, that we considered our community mamas so close to us, you know, that we grew up with them as additional mothers. And so we can start with Mama Tamu Kanyama, who is in the building today.
Yes.
And we are so welcome to have
Mama
her.
Tamu.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
You are
We're
welcome.
so glad you could join us.
Yes.
I am too.
Yes.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, especially being here in the midst of Fulani's children.
Aw.
Yeah.
Well, you look awesome as
Well,
always.
thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful
Always
and
the beauty.
vibrant and
Yes.
strong.
Thank you.
So we are actually honored to have you here, and you're
Yes.
actually our first in-house guest.
Yeah.
So that's
okay.
definitely a pleasure.
Yay.
Yes,
Yay.
it's a celebration.
Yes, yes. So we normally will read a bit of a bio, but because this conversation today is special
Yeah.
and we'll be getting into a lot of different topics
Yeah.
based on your book,
Okay.
1148 Lewis Street, Target of COINTELPRO. That was released, what was it,
2021.
2021. Okay.
Mhm.
I knew it was after
As
the
a
pandemic.
matter of fact, the opening of it was August 18th, 2021, which is the 50th anniversary of the shooting incident that took place in Mississippi.
And we're going to get to that.
I know.
We're gonna
Great
get to that.
history.
Yes.
I want to just share really quickly a few words that are written in the foreword that was written by Iyakaina Gafor Shabazz.
Another one of our honored revolutionary mamas
Yes.
that we love so dearly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ashe.
So, yeah, we're bringing her in here, too.
Exactly.
So, Kaina says, when I look at Tamu's life, I think of the words in a song. To dream the impossible dream, to right the unbearable wrong, to strive with her last ounce of courage, to run where the brave dare not go. And for me, yeah, I'm getting I'm getting emotional already. Because that's what I see and feel anytime I'm in your presence.
Yes.
That's what I know of you, right? To
Wow.
be a brave, courageous, strong woman, an exemplary woman of what it means to be a new African. To be a
right.
revolutionary, to be a wife, a mother, and we're going to get into all of those things. But I wanted to just open up with letting the folks know that that's the kind of energy that we
Yes.
have in this space today.
Appreciate you.
Yes.
And you are a
so-
true example of what it means to be, I don't know, a representation of the village, you know? Somebody who leads that and has always been there to step up no matter what. You know, we could go back to the time where we had to live with you for a while,
Oh, yeah.
you know? And, you know, it just makes you, it makes me grateful of how I was raised and who I was raised by.
All right. All right. You were definitely raised by the best.
Yes. Facts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, as Asantua said as well, we're going to read a few things out of your book.
Okay.
And I'm going to read just a few of your dedications.
Okay.
Starting with, 'tis the ancestors' breath, when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Barajo Diop. This first dedication is for Fulani Nandi Suni Ali, whose entire life has been an example to myself and others of sacrifice, dedication to the total liberation of African people worldwide. Fulani is my sister. With me, she shared her children, family, community, and her vision. And for my sister Courage, Injuri Algani, a powerful force devoted to African liberation on many fronts, including reparation. Her unyielding support in building the platform for functional unity continues to propel us forward.
Ashe.
Ashe.
I didn't know if you was going to make it through it.
Right.
Yes, me either. But, you know, that strength that we come from and represent has to always pull through.
Absolutely.
And just reading those words, you know, everything you said exemplify both of them in those short sentences. And the part where you said, you know, she shared her children, it's like, it's hard to even describe it to people. The family unity we all had with you, Mama Tamu, Mama Injuri, Kaina,
yeah.
those four families.
Let me see. What?
It's four.
Yeah, those four families, you know, we have a bond that's so unbreakable.
Right.
And, you know, even though we lost both of them in the physical, gaining their angel presence is so much stronger in so many ways.
Yes.
But to still have you and Kaina here present with us, you know, allows us to still have that motherly figure here physically.
That physical connection.
And it's just an honor, and it's beautiful that they made those connections,
Absolutely.
you know, while they were here. And y'all made those connections, and y'all made it purposefully.
Yeah.
So we thank you for that. We thank you all for that, because not many people have it, and not many people have the opportunity to even say thank you when they get it. So
I
Asante
understand.
Sana.
I understand what you're saying, because it's just a special feeling to be here, and just an honor to be sitting here, you know, looking at and speaking with Fulani's children, you know, and then we have Sister Injuri's, some of her children here, and it's just comforting. very comforting.
Yeah.
And some people don't understand that either.
Yeah.
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 So I think that relates to one of the questions that I have around your beginnings. So you mentioned August 18th, which we can definitely talk about. You talked about the RNA shooting
Right.
that happened on August 18th. So can you tell folks, like, what is the RNA? Like, in your words. And I read in your book, you said that when you became involved with the RNA, you no longer had to look for yourself.
Exactly.
Which is so powerful. So could you
Exactly.
talk about that?
Yeah, I was always doing things and involving myself with what I thought was things that would uplift our people. We fought in different, community events and all that, and I thought I had it going on. But until I was introduced to RNA, the Republic of New Africa, it was just unbelievable because they were talking about things that had never crossed my mind, never, I just had not been exposed to those things, unlike Fulani. She was born into it, but I was not. I came from a different background, but a background of standing up for yourself, a background of just not taking no crap, and and trying to do things, as I said, that to honor our ancestors and things to just to appreciate who I was. That's the kind of thing that I was taught, but I didn't know anything about reparations. I didn't know anything about just independence, and all that. It just never. It was again. I was just never exposed to it, and when I was exposed to it, it just blew my mind to smithereens. It was just like a whole new world opened up to me, and I embraced it with every bit of my soul, mind, body, and soul. I just thought it was, just the bomb diggity. So, yeah, that was my first indoctrination to RNA, and that was Hikima, who later became my husband, introduced me to it, and so I've been forever grateful for that. Because once I got into that, then it opened up another world for me to study. And I just began to study and, just finding all these terrific books and things that I had never even looked at. So, it became my life. And, it's still my life, to the liberation of our people.
All right.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
So on page 1 of your book, it's entitled I-We. As you read this book, you will notice the use of the uppercase letter W in the word we and the lowercase letter I when referring to myself. Okay. The ideology of the Republic of New Africa emphasized the concept that the group is more important than the individual. We use the lowercase I when referring to ourselves and the uppercase W when referring to the group, family, community, nation, to illustrate that point. I wanted to bring that up because so many people and so many times you hear I.
Right.
It's not about the community anymore. It's not about the village. It's not trying to bring someone up with you. It's everybody's out for themselves. It seems like nowadays.
Yes.
And, I think, childhood, when I was growing up, I remember it being about community. I remember, and I've said it, a few times to people, like people are even afraid to speak to other people's children. Now.
Right.
Yes.
Not in a disrespectful manner, but just in a manner of talking to them as, giving them guidance or checking them because they might need it.
Right.
And that's scary to me because it just feels like, so what are we doing? We're just going to allow people. So what do you think about that? I know, as an educator and your years of molding children and, helping to educate these young minds, how do you feel about that?
I just think that it's still prevalent. We still need to do that. But we are in a different space and a different time. I was speaking the other day to a young lady who was asking me some questions and that. And I, when people and time and events and the world evolve, it's not necessarily a good thing. Some of the evolution is not
Right.
necessarily positive. So that's part of our evolution, and we're evolving into something that we really don't desire. Some of us don't desire. So those of us who have it in our hearts and our minds, and who, well, it just, again, it becomes your life, the way you live. If that's your life, you still got to live it. And you still have to work with those children. Sometimes you might get cussed out, but you know, by a parent, you know, or something like that. But if that's who you are, that's just who you are, and you can't be happy if you deny yourself.
Right.
And that's a denial when you are afraid to approach somebody when you know you're doing the right thing.
Right.
It's positive what you're doing and what you're saying. So you got to kind of, as they say, step out on faith.
And can I wanted to speak to the we. It just brought me back to when Aisha brought up your education as a, you know, your profession as a teacher, as an educator. It brought me back to you not only being a Sante-wise teacher, but when I had the privilege of taking my children to the school where you were teaching at. And it made me feel so calm that my children were in a school where I knew that Mama Tamu was, my aunt was, and I knew that no matter what happened, they had eyes on them, they had love in the space, and the people knew it too. Like, they was like, oh, that's Mama Tamu, that's Tamu's, or I know they called you different things, but that's Miss Norman's, that's Miss Norman's niece and nephew. And so, you know, that's, for us, I know that's how we were able to grasp the we concept. And to this day, you know, what Aisha just read brought it back to me why I don't capitalize I. And there's times when I'll be like, I'm not capitalizing this, and it keeps.
I know.
Like, okay,
Right.
well, I'm just gonna keep erasing until it take it.
Exactly.
and that refresher, you know, makes so much sense because it's not about I. It is about we. And the more we capitalize that W and people embrace that, we can get back to that of not being afraid to talk to some. If you see a child going astray, it's quite okay to say, hey, you don't do that. You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to even have a 10-minute conversation. Just that one word could say,
just be
hey,
an
don't do that.
Exactly.
Because sometimes a child just needs to know someone is paying attention. Someone is giving them some type of care, love,
That's
kindness.
right.
Because
That's
they may not ever experience it at
Right.
home.
And a lot of times they're doing things
for
to
attention.
see if they can get the attention.
Exactly.
That's
so
right.
that
That's
we
right.
is so important, and I'm thankful that we learned that we learned that concept.
And, you know, I usually say to people, you know, I'm just who I am, whether I'm, you know, at school, at work, in church, you know, or at a party, you know. And whoever you are, it's going to be shown, you know. So it comes through.
Yes.
And again, it will come through with those children, too, that you're
Yes.
talking about, trying to help. And you have to be a little gentle sometimes, but... You know, it'll come.
Yeah. Yes.
So for the listeners who don't know who you are, can you talk a little bit about your background as an educator? I know that you were an educator for decades.
Yes.
Decades.
Here in Atlanta. So talk a little bit about
Well,
that.
I first of all went to school in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I didn't have the joy and experience of attending a black school, but that's all right. I made it through.
You was black enough for them.
But I graduated from the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. I went to summer school in Ghana, the University of Ghana in Accra, West Africa.
What year was that?
That was 1971.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Right before we
Everything
went to
transitioned.
Mississippi. Yeah. But anyway, and then I taught in Mississippi for a while after all the shooting and all that stuff, and I relocated to Mississippi to be near my husband. So I taught there for a while at the university at what was that? Itabena, Mississippi.
Okay.
And just I taught in the University of DeKalb College here in Georgia. So I've had a kind of a mixed situation. I've taught everything from kindergarten through college, skipping over middle school.
Oh, okay.
And that wasn't by design.
Right.
But in
it
retrospect, I'm not mad about it.
Yep. Skipped a few years.
That's a
of
good
growth.
age.
Yeah.
Like those ages.
Yeah, it takes all kind to teach different
Oh, yeah.
levels, so
It
it's a good
does.
age for somebody to teach.
Yep. And you have that sweet and softness for the little ones.
You do.
And that sternness for the older ones. It's like a difference. You do.
And the stern for the little ones too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yes, I remember those days at Venetian Hills because you were so I went to Venetian Hills.
Yeah.
This is Asante was speaking. I went to Venetian Hills from, oh my goodness, what? Oh, kindergarten.
Oh, were you?
No,
you
no.
was-
I
know
was
you
at
missed-
Collier Heights.
You were in third
kindergarten
grade
to
with Miss
second
Giles. I know that.
So so I started Venetian Hills at third grade, and then I graduated from there.
Yeah.
Three
Fifth
through
grade.
three
Yeah.
through fifth grade.
Yeah.
So yes, you were never officially my teacher,
Right.
But I would come to your class all the time, help out with the Kwanzaa.
Yes.
And thank
Yes.
you. I made it to the book, y'all. I'm on page 115. But no, we had such a great time introducing Kwanzaa
Right.
to the community.
That was
Yeah.
that
And
was
so it was a time for me, and we're going to give you some more flowers. It was a time for me where prior to that, I was, growing up as a new African child and being put in public school was a bit jarring.
good. Yeah.
I started out at Harambe Sasa, which was, African centered preschool. And then after that went on to public school. And so for those first few years, kindergarten through second grade, it was just like, okay, I have to pronounce my name a million times for people.
Yeah.
I have to explain why I don't eat this or drink that. I don't drink Coca-Cola. My parents say they support apartheid.
Right.
So I can't drink that.
What's
Right.
that?
Right. It's like, what is it? Why do you know that word,
Right.
kindergartner? And just always feeling like I had to kind of defend myself and be on edge. I can't.
Yeah.
No, I'm not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right.
It was a lot of explaining myself. And I feel like when I got to Venetian Hills, everybody was like, oh no, that's Miss Norma's niece.
Right.
And everything was just kind of understood. Like I didn't feel that level of, like I had to
Yes.
explain myself or
Right.
like I
Stood
had to
out.
be on the defense.
Right.
And so thank you for that.
Good,
And I don't know how conscious you were about it. I think, I think you were just being your
Yeah.
courageous, brave African self. But in doing that, you created a safe space for me. And I'm sure so many other
I'm so glad.
students there. And I'm sure other teachers as well. So thank you for that. And
Great.
thank you for calling on me to step up and to show who I was to everybody. Because that was a confidence builder for me as well as a young girl.
Good.
So
I remember some of the teachers being just at awe that you could pronounce the word. Yeah. They would say, that little girl know how to say them words. Yes, and you were such a joy to have, and you were so helpful because I never got any extra time to prepare children. Whatever I did was on my own. I had to do it either on my lunchtime or after school, preparing, decorating, everything. And so sometimes the children were not quite ready. I would go and snatch Tewa from her class. And then finally I asked her teacher if she could just come up there every day. If the children weren't able to do it, she would either take over or just say stuff with them.
Right.
And that was really wonderful. I certainly enjoyed having her.
Yes, I say.
So I am going to take it back to 1971,
Okay.
August 18th to be exact.
Okay.
Can you share a bit for our listeners what happened on that day?
Well, I'm going to go 2 days before that. Okay. Well, first of all, I just returned from Ghana, and Hakeem and I had planned on a trip south, even though in our personal relationship things were shaky, but because we had planned, well, we went anyway.
Right.
And we got there, and the first day we got there, everything was really cool. We stopped at the first government center, the main government center, which is where all the government business took place, which was named Lynch Street.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yes.
So then they took us over to where we would be staying, which was 1148 Lewis Street. Okay. And we went there. Everything was fine the first night. We had a good time. We met people that we didn't know. Some that we did know. And we just embracing each other and learning what was going on there at the house. That second situation is where a lot of the brothers and sisters lived who were, government workers. And so it was quite informative, and they talked about the community and the support that they were getting, and some of the backlash as well. So there's a lot of things, a lot of different feelings about the RNA in that community. A lot of the black people felt supportive, but were afraid to show it. Some were not so afraid, and then there were some who just kind of looked at it out of the corner of their eyes and kept stepping. So, but anyway, so the second night, again, everything was cool until the pre-dawn attack. We woke up to a loud bullhorn telling us to get out of the house. Well, we were asleep. So they gave us a minute and 15 seconds to wake up, get dressed, and get out of the house. We were not able to do that. So consequently, the house became flooded with bullets and tear gas. It was just like a nightmare. We jumped up. We got whatever clothing that we had. Since I had a little spring coat, I just grabbed that and put it on because I didn't have time to do anything else. Most of the brothers were without shirts. They were just able to slip on their pants. None of us had shoes, but we were able to get those things. And then as after the bullets and tear gas came, well, we did believe in self-defense, first law of nature, self-preservation. So there was a battle that ensued. And for me, there was two sisters in the house, myself and another sister. And there's a young brother who was at that time just 17 years old. Well, this young brother, Chuma, just came, seemed like from nowhere, and grabbed the other sister and myself and took us to a hole, which is in a closet floor that the brothers had prepared. Took us down in there, and there was a big, it was big space in the ground, like a
bunker.
A bunker. Yes, exactly. So he took us in there, and then I guess I was out of my mind and not knowing what was going on. So I saw some light. I guess by that time, began to be a little light, sunlight coming up. So I struggled to get to that light. Well, but at the same time, Chuma had tried to go back up into the house to get his weapon, and he accidentally fell back in and saw me scrambling and grabbed me by the foot and pulled me back in. And then he covered myself and the other sister with his body so that if any bullets came and hit somebody, it would get him. And that's something that's it's
to be that age, and
Right.
And it makes me very emotional when I think about that, because somebody 17 is willing to give their life to protect me.
Right.
You don't get any closer than that.
Right.
But the training that those brothers had, and I'm going to get back to this in a minute, but I got to say this. The training that the brothers and sisters had in Mississippi was like none other. As a matter of fact, your grandfather, Fulani's dad, trained them so well that, you know, that's where that came from, that protecting the sisters. They always stressed protecting the sisters. He and Brother Imari both, that was just like a number one thing. You protect the sisters. And again, their training was very rigorous, and Fulani and Kanyama used to tell me about it, you know, because I was like not into all that.
Right. What's your cup of tea?
No, and I wasn't in the territory, so I missed it. You know, I didn't get a chance to get
the training.
Get Elijah's hands on. So, but again, I just want to stress that how well those brothers were trained. So, but anyway, so back to the bunker. So we're there in the bunker, and then shortly after we were there, the other brothers came down. And the gunfire continued, and then Hakima looked out and saw that they were uniformed officers. So, and we were totally outnumbered, because I think it was like 35 of them, something like that. I can't remember now. It's in the book. But anyway, he said that we need to surrender, and we did. They asked them to hold their fire. You know, we're coming out. So we did, and they did hold the fire, which is such a blessing, because they could have just annihilated us, and nothing would have been done.
Wow.
But they first took us to the back of the house and had us to lie down on the ground. And I always remember this part, too, because I was, at that time, was very, very much afraid of bugs.
You said you weren't afraid of the guns. Yeah, big guns. And you're like,
big guns.
Not them spiders.
Not the ants down there.
Told me to put my head down on the ground. And, you know, when I was putting my head down, I saw a bug, and I jerked my head. And then one of the officers, who was so irate, I mean, he was like foaming out of the mouth. He put the gun right in my face and said, "You put your goddamn head down, or I'll blow your goddamn brains out." So I put my head as close
Wow.
as close to the ground as I dared. But I just could not lay my hand on them bugs.
Resistance and everything. You're just going to resist them bugs.
Wow.
Well, he probably thought my head was there, but I was close.
Right. Close enough. Listen.
Yeah. Then, but anyway, after they terrorized us while we were on the ground, cussing and fussing and telling and yelling for Imari to come out of the house, they thought that Brother Imari was still in the house, because that's who they were really after. They knew that, or they thought that Hakima and Imari would be at the same place
Together.
You know, 'cause since Hakima was second in line to Brother Imari, so you know, you get them both at one time, and you kill it.
You have it.
Yeah,
For our
so-
listeners, sorry to interrupt. Such a beautiful telling. But for our listeners, could you just share who is Imari Obadeli and also Hakima?
Yeah. Imari was the president of RNA at that time, and we had 4 vice presidents, and Hakima was the first vice president.
Okay.
So, that, you know, that's how that went. And but anyway, so they kept yelling for Imari to come out of the house, and they continued to shoot into the house, continued to shoot tear gas canisters in there. So the house was just smoking. And anyway, then when they got finished terrorizing us on the ground, and then they had us to get up and marched us to the front of the house and had us to sit on the curb, and they took these handcuffs, the plastic ones that you can make really tight, and they had them so tight that it was like, you know, you didn't have feeling in your hand anymore, and behind our backs, and then they were hitting the brothers with the guns, the butt of the guns upside the head, you know, asking them questions, and you know, they were answering the questions mostly, but sometimes they gave answers that were not desirable. But anyway, that went on for quite a while, and then finally the police van came, and then they put us in there and tear gassed us while we were in there. And incidentally, what they had outside, first of all, I said that about 35 of them, and there was police. There was a what's it called, Thompson tank, and they had snacks and the whole bit, so it was obvious that they had planned to just come and annihilate us and sit down and talk about it and eat their snacks and have a good time, and it didn't turn out that way. 3 of their officers were wounded. 1 was fatal. So this was police and FBI. So they were quite upset. And again, at that point, they put us in the van and took us downtown to the city jail and paraded us through the streets with our handcuffs and just it's just very reminiscent of some photos that you've seen of the enslaved Africans being paraded through the streets with very few clothes on, and it's very, very similar. But they took us to the city jail, and we stayed there for a while, and we ended up moving from jail to jail, all around for quite a while. We ended up at Parchman Penitentiary, as they is usually referred to as the notorious Parchman prison. But we were pretty much separated from other prisoners. But like on the side where the women were, we were doing nation building classes and all that, because the brothers on the other side of the wall where we were could hear us. And they were like, the incarcerated brothers and sisters who were incarcerated before we got there, they were just, so excited to have us there and wanted to know more about RNA and wanted to become citizens. And so, but every morning we'd get up and do the pledge. And at that time we had this little saying, the land will be free in 73. And we truly believed that. We believed that. I mean, we felt it. I mean, it was a good feeling. And those brothers would say it with us. They would say the pledge. We had taught them the pledge and the Declaration of Independence and everything. But we weren't like sitting there crying.
Right.
We felt like we were righteous people with a righteous cause, and we had to do our thing wherever we were. We were behind the wall or wherever. That was just us, who we were. But that's pretty much it. And we went from like I said, from jail to jail. We eventually had a trial, and we knew that the lawyers, the attorneys were very skillful. When we finally went to trial a couple years later, Kanyama was the first one to go. Oh, let me back up a minute. I forgot to say that in addition to the 7 of us who were in that house, the 2 sisters and 5 brothers in the government center on Lynch Street, when there was a simultaneous attack as well. Well, when they went there, those brothers and sisters were up and about doing government work. So when they yelled at them to come out, they had no problem. They walked out, said, what do you want? What are you here for, et cetera, et cetera. A normal, calm conversation. And they were still locked up, taken to jail, and were charged with everything that we were charged with. Which ranged from murder to trying to overthrow the United States government, treason, you name it, we were charged with it. And so one of the main things that, aside from the murder and the treason and all that, they also charged us with having an automatic weapon. So with that one, that was an interesting one, because during the trial, the judge ended up moving the whole court to the water. We were in Biloxi, and so the ballistic expert, understand, for 2 or 3 years, however long, I can't remember now, had the gun in his possession for all those years. They could have manipulated it and done anything they wanted to it. However, they did not. But the ballistic expert was there, and the judge had him to fire the gun over the water and show the court that it would fire automatically. So he tried and tried and tried, and finally he gave up, and he said, "Your Honor, I can't make this thing fire automatically to save my life."
Wow.
So, but we were still charged.
Of course.
With it. So anything that they would say, anything that they accused us of, no matter what the evidence was, what the evidence showed, we were still charged. Okay. The one thing in my situation, there was the what do you call the informer? There was an informer who had joined RNA, and y'all have to tell me when my time is short. But there was an informer in Milwaukee who joined where Hakeem and I lived, and then a lot of the brothers suspected him as being an informer, and inexperienced me, I'm like, Hakeem, make him leave that brother alone. He's not an informer. He's just stupid. But I was so wrong. He was an informer, and he was keeping the FBI and police abreast of everything that we did, and those things that we didn't do, he made up. So there was a guy that they claimed who was also a citizen in Milwaukee, and they claimed, and he was from Detroit. The other guy, his name was Siley. And they said that he was wanted for murder from Detroit. Well, he joined in Milwaukee. They knew his whereabouts because Snoopy is the name of the guy who was the informer. That was his name. His
Appropriate name.
Yeah.
Appropriate name. Y'all should have known from that.
No, that was the FBI's name for him.
For-
We didn't learn
okay.
that until after.
later.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, anyway, but he was keeping them informed, so they knew full well where this guy was. Well, at some point, he moved to Mississippi and wanted to be a part of the goings on in Mississippi, the government centers and all that. Well, he was there for a while. So they knew when he left, they knew when he got there, they knew which house he was staying in. I'm stressing that to say that any time that they wanted to arrest him, they could have.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they didn't. They waited until that morning when we were there to come. And by the way, he was not even there because he had, I don't know what he had done, but to live at one of the government centers, you had to have exemplary conduct. And whatever he did, he had been expelled from there and could no longer be a part. So they knew that too. They knew when he left and all that. Well, they claimed that was their reason for coming to shoot up the house that morning. And again, he wasn't there. So, the whole thing was like things that they said was just so. You could see through everything they said, and our lawyers, as I said, were extremely skillful people, but they knew that at that time, 1971 in Mississippi, black folk talking about land and independence and have the audacity to fight back. You were going to be put to death, right? With the things that we were charged with. So. What the attorneys did, there was several black attorneys that came together to defend us. And, of course, Chokwe was in the midst. At that time, I think he was still a student, but he knew what he was doing. He organized them. And they were just excellent attorneys. And the one lead attorney, which I spoke with back, when I talked to him a little before I did the book, and he was explaining that they knew that there was going to be a conviction, without a doubt. There's no way it wouldn't have been. Right. But the way they did handle the jury selection was to select in such a way that they would get people who had a problem with the death penalty, and that's what saved Hikima and the other brothers' lives because because of how they did the jury selection. So that was it. But of course, the brothers ended up with, 3 of the brothers ended up with life in prison. The one brother, who had helped us get out of the house, Chuma, ended up with, I think he ended up with about 5 years because they couldn't show that he handled a weapon because he was there with us.
Yeah.
So again, the brothers had life without any possibility of parole. So they never expected to see really any of us walk the streets as quote unquote free men and women. But those brothers definitely were not expected to ever get out. And the people from the other house, Brother Mari, and let's see, over in that house, it was 1 sister and 3 brothers. So those brothers, they didn't get life, but they did get a lot of time. And because there was nothing that they could charge them with, absolutely nothing.
Right.
Nothing took place. But they, as I said, spent a lot of time. But our brothers, people always wonder, well, how in the heck did they get out of that? Well, it had to be divine intervention because Parchman prison was cited for being overcrowded. And anybody who had to serve time in another jurisdiction they moved them out.
Right.
Our brothers had federal time. So 2 of our brothers came here to Atlanta, to federal pen. Immediately after they sent the brothers away, then they realized what they had done. Somebody probably pulled their coat. They didn't know. But they snatched them right back. As a matter of fact, my oldest daughter and I came here to visit Kanyama, and because we knew that they were going to be here. And when we got here, and then found that he was gone, they had taken him back, which again blew us away. But I'll move on. But anyway, when they took the brothers, brought them back, our lawyers jumped on it with everything they had, and it took them about 3 years to get it back into court, because the argument is that Mississippi lost jurisdiction when they transferred them.
Right. Yeah.
And so finally, after about 3 years, we won that battle. And so the brothers were then, at the end of that time, were moved back to federal pen. But they were only there a very short period of time, because from the first day that they were there, the first time, and all the time that they had served after that, those 3 years here while we were fighting it, and then the little time that when they went back, all of that time counted as federal time. So they were up for parole in very short period of time. So that's how they were able to get out.
All right.
Yes.
Woo. Victory.
Struggle, victory, all wrapped up.
Resistance.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that.
Do I have any more time?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I forgot to explain, because I did mention about my oldest daughter, but how we got these kids.
Yeah. Oh, that was going to be a question. That was coming up.
Yes. The one thing about Parchman, as notorious and horrible as it is, they have the one thing that is they have some humane things about them, but it's not about trying to be humane. It's just that old slave mentality, slave master mentality. Keep the slave happy, and he'll be less active to fight and run away.
Right.
However, it worked for us. They have conjugal visits.
Yes.
So you could come in and you have your private time with your husband. And then aside from that, they also had, for the brothers who reached trustee status, and all of our brothers reached trustee status, and that meant that they could apply for a 3-day visit. And a 3-day visit was where you actually I would go there, and we would actually live in a house together for 3 whole days and nights.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So that was really so
A blessing.
such a blessing to our family and our bonding, and and our being able to have children. So we had three healthy daughters, and so all of them were born while he was incarcerated.
Wow.
Powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to leave that part out.
No, it's
That's
important.
where they
It's
tried
important.
to bury us. They didn't know
And
we
let
were
me
seeds.
just say to everyone listening, and we will, post. But to everyone listening, the title of the book is 1148 Lewis Street, Target of COINTELPRO, A Long Journey. A long journey.
Yes.
But this is a must read.
Yes.
So where can people purchase this book?
Well, you can go to usliftingus.com and click on the store, and you can purchase it there. You can also get it from Amazon, and you can also get it from me.
Well, I
Yes.
did want to ask a question too about it's everything in this book is just so inspiring. And just the victories, because I never want to say triumphs, because we were never triumph. We were victorious.
Yes.
And pretty much I would say almost all of these atrocities that were done to our families and the revolutionaries across the world by different forms of government. So you talk about the land celebration
Oh, yeah.
in your book.
Yeah.
And so many people have this misunderstanding of what having land and the promise of land, the power of the land, the celebration of land.
Yes.
And so could you kind of just talk about the land celebration?
Yes.
I know it was like a national event for the
It was.
Republic of New Africa.
I wasn't even 4 yet, but I was
Right.
there.
Amongst, there were all type of things that I heard happen.
And
There
there was a
weddings,
wedding.
Yes.
family reunions, children being present,
Yes.
training, going on, and education. It's okay. And so I just, if you can talk about land celebration.
Yeah. That was a very joyous occasion. First of all, let me just say that, of course, the Republic of New Africa believe in land.
Yes.
We believe that all the land in America that we have worked on, fought to stay on, and died saving it, is land that should belong to us as a people. However, we only claim the 5 states in the South, but before
In those 5 states.
Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina.
And
Louisiana. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, but before that could happen, we knew that was going to take some time. Okay. So, but we believed that we needed to at least own a piece of land to be able to set up the government center on and just begin to live as a nation. So we were in the process of purchasing land in Mississippi. There was a brother who owned a lot of land and was willing at one point to sell it to us. So we began the process of trying to purchase that land. So once we did that was in motion. It called for a great celebration, because this was our land celebration, and that was in March of 1971. So we people from all over, we had citizens coming from all different states, and we kind of met at a general location, and it was just a caravan all the way to the land, which was just a tremendous experience. And at one point, the police blocked our caravan, and Chokwe Lumumba was in one of the front cars. He got out. I don't know what he said. I never knew what he said. Right. All I know is that they dispersed, and the caravan moved on. And we got to the land. There was a note on the land signed by the KKK saying, "It won't be no celebration here today, niggas." Land, 6 feet under. So anyway, but that did not deter us. We got out. Right. We were happy. We were just having a good time. We, just just enjoying ourselves and put the flag up, posted our flag on the ground. So as I always say, thus El Malik had arrived.
Yes.
El Malik was the name of the capital, our capital, and we were calling that our capital.
Wow.
So anyway, but we took care of government business. There were a lot of things that going on, and as Asante was saying, children were there, and there was even a wedding there.
Whose wedding was it?
That was Fulani's and Baba Ahmed got married on the land. So it was just a beautiful occasion. And there are pictures of us, some people laying down with their rifles in their hands protecting the land, because we knew that there might be trouble.
Yes.
But anyway, again, we just had a great celebration that weekend. And as at the end of the weekend, we all went back to where we were from. And shortly after that, we got word that the brother had reneged on the land. So I'm not sure. None of us really knew what happened. But you can imagine that he was harassed.
Yeah.
And that
Amongst
the
other
way they
things.
carried on in Mississippi, with all the killings and things that people already knew about, and this was an older gentleman, and knowing the history of Mississippi, and our parents and everybody was scared for us, So, anybody who was older knew the history of Mississippi,
Right.
and so you could kind of see that he would, be
Coward.
reluctant. Yeah. So, but anyway, he reneged, and so the deal did not go through.
Wow.
Yeah.
About how much land was it?
I'm not sure. I think it was, I want to say 20 acres. Or
Okay.
I think.
good.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think so. I've forgotten, but
But a significant amount.
It was.
Yeah.
It was significant.
It was
Yeah.
Even for the work that the RNA was doing and proposing to do,
Yeah.
establishing an independent black nation,
Yeah.
even a few acres,
Exactly.
would have been a threat,
Yeah.
to the government
Yeah.
and powerful for our people.
Definitely, definitely.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I wasn't quite 4 when my
Right.
parents were married on the land in
Yeah.
1971. But I remember running because it was just so much space. Like, that's what I remember most about Mississippi anytime we were there when I was younger.
Yeah.
Just always open space.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was always somewhere for me to run
Yeah.
to. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It was very, very,
Yeah. Those were just memorable times.
yes.
Memorable. I mean,
I love hearing about
you
it.
couldn't. You just you can't replace the feelings that you had, with those different events. But that particular one was so major, so major.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would like to also mention, how one of your daughters has honored you, in starting a school. Ayenda started,
Yeah.
and I never get it all right, the whole name of the school.
Tamu
but
Sana
Kanyama.
Kanyama
Preparatory Academy.
But it's the end. I can never remember the whole thing. But always talking to Ayenda and just the pride that she shares in the beginning, in starting that process, and then just her willingness to share that process with so many of us who either are interested in starting schools or having our children in independent schools. That shows also to the diligence, the just love and respect and honor that she has for the struggle, commitment, sacrifice that you and Baba Hekima did, and just the fact that she's is continuously growing. Every time I talk to her, she's doing something different, doing something great. And one thing that I love that she does every year with the students at her school, she takes them to someone's land at least for a week or two, where they not only sleep out there in tents, but they cook, and then they do a project that helps to benefit that land or that community that they visit. So they don't come empty-handed, and then they don't leave without doing something for the people. And that goes back to how you all raised all of us to be able to do that and to have the joy in doing it, so that's such a beautiful honor that she's able to do it, especially while you're here living, and for you to be able to experience it and go there, and the students actually hear directly from you, who who the school is named after. So I just wanted to ask you, how does that make you feel?
Very, very good. When she started the school, it was started with a different name, and I remember the day that she that they renamed, and it was at my oldest granddaughter's graduation, and that she got up and made the announcement. And I talked a lot, but I couldn't say anything. I mean, that was one of the few times in my life that I've been speechless. I was just so shocked. I just hadn't expected that, but it's a beautiful feeling, and I've enjoyed over the years being able to interact with the students. That's been a joy.
Shout out to Ayenda,
Ayenda.
TSK, and also to Noni and Shay, our cousins, our sister cousins.
Well, in Noni's situation, she has a spa, but she uses it. I mean, we the community has been able to use the space a lot for many different community events and that.
We've done a couple of events there at her shop, and it's beautiful to go in there, because she has it's not just a nail shop or a spa, a regular spa, but it's exposing so many different cultures.
It's a community center.
That's what I was going to say.
Truly community. So it's a blessing.
It's beautiful to see all three of your daughters carrying on the tradition in their own way, right? In their own way, their areas of expertise.
Yeah, Shay is an insurance advisor, and what she does is try and speak to our people about intergenerational wealth and things like that. So,
and she does excellent lectures on that. And I've seen her. She's actually talked to me quite a couple of times, quite a few times. And just like you said, like Asante said, just the three of them doing it in their own way is so special. And that's something we talked about before, because people expect you all's children, they expect us to I would say mimic y'all in so many ways.
They expect us to represent
they don't understand
exactly
that
like you did.
Y'all didn't teach us to mimic y'all. Y'all didn't teach us to just repeat
to
everything
be followers.
Y'all did. Exactly. Y'all taught us to be leaders and lead in what we know to do.
Exactly.
And then we implement what you taught us.
Into what
we're doing.
Exactly.
So, it's just beautiful to see that reflected, not just in your daughters, but Kaina, Mama and Jerry, and it was like across the board. That's what it was. And we were never expected to stand in y'all's shoes.
Exactly.
But we were expected to do something great. But it didn't have to be exactly what y'all did.
It didn't have to look any particular way.
Right.
And that's a blessing. And also thanked for that, because so many people, so many parents, I would say, put so much pressure on their children to become what they want them to be. And that's one thing that we didn't have. We didn't have that pressure.
Right.
Chokwe Antar Lumumba says, actually at Iafalani's, our mother's celebration of life, he says, in reflecting on being a movement child, that our parents passed on the movement to us. They gifted us with the movement.
Good.
And so it's not, something that's
not a
foreign
burden
to us. Or it's not something that we have to kind of go look for or aspire to. It's embedded in who we are and how we live our lives.
Exactly.
We were born with
so
it.
Thank you.
Right?
Definitely.
Thank you all for doing that, for providing us the movement.
And I want to say something else. I was having a conversation with someone. They asked me a question, and this maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and I don't even know the context, and how it came up. But I was asked, when you were growing up, did you ever... I think it was asked, the way you were raised, did that help you be confident about who you are. Like, how did you feel about being who you are? I know what it was. We were talking about New Orleans, and we were talking about skin color.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about light and dark. And I was asked, I think he was basically asking me without saying it outright, how do you feel about being darker skin? Like, were you ever ashamed or embarrassed? I was like, no, I always knew black is beautiful. I said, I was always very confident. I said, even with my hair, everything. I said, and having my nose rings since I was 3, like, people like, what is wrong with you? Like, you look crazy. You look whatever y'all wanted to say. But it never was something that I was concerned with. And I've talked to some of my friends, you know, classmates and stuff, and they're just now at over 50 saying how comfortable they are in their skin. And I was like, wow, I wish I knew that when we were younger. Because I would have, you know, if I could have
brought you around more.
I would have tried to, you know, make sure that you knew you were beautiful, you know? And I just wanted to say that because one of the things that I always loved about my Auntie Tamu was just, I just thought you were like a doll.
Yes, so
like,
beautiful.
Your skin is so soft and so smooth. And even now, like,
Even now,
I don't
like,
even see no wrinkles. You know, people talk about me and talk, oh, you don't even look your age. Oh my God. Well, you still look like you did 30 years ago.
Black and beautiful.
And it's beautiful.
Wow, thank you.
Look at Mama Tamu.
She's black and beautiful. Look at Mama Tamu. She's black and beautiful. Singing. She's growing up black and strong. New African all day long. She's growing up black and strong. She's black and beautiful.
That was so on cue because I was just about to say what made us love our blackness so much. We used to sing those songs all the time. Each one of us got a turn.
Such a beautiful voice too.
Just
so
like
it was
sings
like,
too, y'all.
yes.
Come on.
And she makes his cake. But on another,
Yeah, she can
on
cook.
another- But no, seriously, like that. What you brought up, Aisha, because I think not them. You know, people when they look on the outside at us, they think, "Oh, revolutionary children. They grew up stringent and you know." But we had fun, and they made us have. They made these types of moments with us, with the songs, with the chants. Yes, rich. You know, so growing up and knowing that, and then saying constantly we black and beautiful, and how we growing up black and strong.
Exactly.
Like you cannot not feel great when you walk out the house every morning. You could, you know, it was the things that we had to do in the morning before we even left the house.
Right.
It allowed you the ability to walk out confident because I knew when I walked out the house, no matter what anybody said out there, I could call anybody.
Exactly.
I got my, you know, I got my family, I got my
Yes.
community.
Culturally suited and booted.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's sad though that was a thing. Like I really never thought about me being darker skinned and people being like, are you ashamed to be dark? No. And then because of our family, we had so many different hues. Like my siblings, like we're all different shades of black. Our grandfather, high yellow, you know, red. More red, you know, that reddish, the native, the coloring, you know, and looking at that, aunties, I have aunties, same, you know, complexion as my grandfather, and it just never,
it never,
it never made me feel like one was better than the other. It's just, this is who we are. But it's all blackness.
And you know what? Because you was talking about in school, in the school I went to for high school, it was a very, high, them falutin people, but a lot of them, yes, they said. And I'm talking about like when I went there, of course, you know, my natural hair, I had my hair in Bantu knots. I did not care about none of that. I can recall the day that I got there, I was me. I didn't care if I had friends there, and the light-skinned girls would look at me and be looking like, what? Who is that? And then when they found out that they didn't think boys should like me, they was like, what's with her? She got nappy hair. She's darker than us. And literally in that school, if you wasn't light skinned and your parents weren't doctors, lawyers, or some type of, high ranking professional,
right.
then you were you were supposed to be looked down on. But when I got there, I was like, oh yeah, no,
You switched it up.
yeah, and then a lot.
No.
Yeah, I was like, no, that's not how this goes. I'm confident in who I am,
Right.
and I'm not gonna change because I don't have long, straight hair or my skin isn't pale or light skin, or however you want to,
Not pale.
describe it.
Not the
Or because I wasn't the typical,
We got you.
So
All right. Y'all see my sister is very, very.
I just like to keep it real. Okay, y'all.
Yeah.
But the song you guys were singing,
Yes.
I used to start my class every day with that
Nice.
song.
Yes.
That's
Powerful.
beautiful.
Powerful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if
See,
we were
that
talking
carries
about these
on.
high school stories, so, I went to high school in New Orleans, started there in 6th grade and through my first year of college at Xavier. And I, speaking about the color issue, I never had any, and I had friends that were all different shades of black.
Yeah.
But I tried out to be a cheerleader at McDonough 35 High School in New Orleans. And I love my high school, still the best high school in the land. But a couple of my friends tried to talk me out of it, and they were like, are you sure you want to do that? And I was like, yeah,
Right.
I don't understand. I was a gymnast. I was on a dance team, and they were all run by the same person, and the cheerleaders as well. So I'm like, yeah, I've been doing. I'm like, this is easy. This is a no-brainer. Tried out for the squad. I didn't make it. And not even maybe 3 days later, one of the seniors who was a judge, her name was Ava Allen, and bless her soul, she came to me and she's like, Aisha, I need to talk to you. And I was like, okay. She said, we all voted for you. She said, and Miss Benjamin vetoed it. Miss Benjamin was over cheerleading, gymnastics, and dance.
Wow.
And she was also high yellow. Had a dance school outside of, the high school that she ran. And my feelings were just, I couldn't believe it. And so I went home and I told my mother.
Oh boy.
Woo, she came to that school. And Dr. Gotro, God rest his soul, he was the assistant principal, and Cynthia Calise was the principal. And she said, if y'all don't want every member of the the Black nationalist movement to come here, y'all better fix it quick.
Wow.
Needless to say, I was a cheerleader.
Yes, she was.
But only because I made Miss Benjamin come to our house. She sent Derek Cagnaletti, who was like the coach.
Come on with the full
Right,
name.
I used to be giving them names.
We can talk about it now. Derek Cagnaletti to my house to, I need you, we want you to be on the squad. I said, Derek, you can't come here and ask me that. I said, she has to come.
Right.
I said, as much as I want to do it, I said, she has to be the one to come. She came.
That's right.
So, yes, I forgive you, Miss Benjamin. God rest your soul.
Wow. About a good 40 years later.
And all is right.
Right.
In the world now. Ashe.
All right.
Yeah.
But to reiterate what Aisha said earlier, Mama Tamu, you've had a journey.
Yes.
Yes.
You've had a journey in this book. I'm sure it doesn't encapsulate it all, but it encapsulates quite a lot. So, I want to echo that encouragement for our listeners to go and purchase the book and read about this rich history, this journey. Because there's so many more questions that we could ask you. This conversation.
Yeah, we'll have to
could
do
really-
another episode just dedicated
Because
to
you
you.
talk about being a mom, and you talk about being a sister warrior, and having times where you lost yourself a little bit, and so I think those messages and those lessons are important for all of us. Not just women, but for anybody who reads, they can take so many lessons and nuggets away and apply it to their lives.
Yes.
So thank you for this offering.
Yes.
You are an educator and you're teaching
Yes.
through this
Thank
book.
you.
Yes.
And because we're celebrating mothers, and it is Mother's Day, and we are all mothers here. Again, we want to thank you for being our auntie, mama,
God,
whenever we needed it. And, I know that just like our mother was, and how we are with each other's children, that you have a very close knit relationship with your nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
I know you've been like a mom to them, and you know the way you are with your family reminds us of how our blood family, you know, how we are, which I think, you know, is part of the reason that, you know,
so connected.
yes, our mother and you and Mama and Jerry and Mama Kaina, you know, were best friends, and because y'all had those same qualities, and you know, your mindset was a lot alike.
Thank you.
So we appreciate you, and we're so glad that you are here with us.
Thank you, and I so appreciate being here.
Asante Sana.
Asante.
Yes, y'all go check out Mama Tamu's book. And
Yes.
her work, and follow the movement. Check out Tamu Sana Kanyama Preparatory Academy to look at the new iterations of the work that Mama Tamu laid out for us.
Absolutely.
Asante Sana.
Asante Sana.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You have been listening to Seeds of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind podcast.
See you next time.
Yay. Peace and love.
Look for me in the world.